Welcome to Tomorrow.Africa, the podcast that explores the possibilities and the potential of Web3 in the African continent. We believe that the future of Africa is bright and that emerging technologies such as blockchain can accelerate its development. We interview people who contribute to this breakthrough in Africa and around the world and who hold a positive vision for the future. My name is Yassi Lokman and I'll be your host for this podcast. In today's episode, I'll be interviewing Sandi Bitenc, the CEO of TreeAir. TreeAir is a decentralized telecommunication solution that provides broadband internet connectivity, IP telephony, and TV to the excluded areas in Africa. We'll be discussing why the existing telecommunication infrastructures have so far failed to bring high-speed internet connection to the large populations in Africa, and how TreeAir's innovative solutions disrupt the old systems. Also, be discussing why the TreeAir platform was built with a decentralized model using blockchain and what makes it different from other innovative projects that aim to tackle the same issues. Sandi will share his insights on the importance of access to the internet and why it should even be considered as a right to ensure easy access to information, better education, and how that would eventually lead to a breakthrough in African countries. Sandi, welcome to the show.
Hello, Yassine, and thanks for inviting me. Really happy to be here.
Sandi, you're the CEO of TreeAir, a solution that aims to bring high-speed broadband to provide wireless internet connection, TV, and IP telephony to areas that were so far excluded. There is a statistic you highlight in your material, which is the fact that 3 billion people are not connected today to the internet, which obviously is an issue. And this is exactly what you're tackling. And to build your solution, you have chosen blockchain technology. So we will be obviously elaborating on that. But first, Sandi, could you share some words about yourself, what you're passionate about, and what are the highlights of the journey that brought you to where you are right now?
So, in short, about me, professionally, my background is in economics. So I studied macroeconomics. I've been an entrepreneur all my life. I like to say I didn't have a decent job at all. So it was actually almost everything that I've done was my own company, and I started already in my teens. I set up a company that was, everything that I've done almost was really connected to computers. At least the things that were really successful. So that was still, in the late 1990s, early 2000. And we set up with some friends a company that did domain registration and also providing hosting services. And then after that, we added a agency and built websites. And that was really, I can really say that was the early days of internet. So it was still Web 1, Web 2 was just emerging at that point in time. But I got my first computer when I was 6. It was a Commodore 64. And I fall in love, with computers. My dad sent me off to do some development, and yeah, that was in BASIC and really, really easy stuff. But later on, I also taught myself some development. So I know some React and HTML, CSS, Firebase, those stuff, that's why I'm really good in being the link, leading the teams and the link to developers, because I know a lot about development, but I'm really good in developing products and leading teams. So this is my position right now, let's say, as the CEO of TreeAir. And I came to TreeAir because the technology that's providing broadband in Africa right now, and there is one thing that you said, that we are doing, Wi-Fi internet. Wi-Fi is maybe part of it, but in a sense, we are a broadband provider. So we are actually an ISP, and providing high-speed broadband internet that's not on Wi-Fi, but there is at the end point there is a Wi-Fi solution. But I would say it's more than just Wi-Fi. There were a lot of issues in regards to scaling business in Africa. It was payment issues, it was identity, the stuff related, and so on. So this is when I came to the project and started developing the blockchain part. And from the payment and identity solution, it far overgrew everything that we set out at the beginning. And this is now the state of 3R. But I'm really why I joined it, because I really think that blockchain can provide huge opportunities and solutions for telecoms, and especially for Africa. And what we can do, combining giving internet and also giving access to to blockchain, I think that's really can be a game changer for people in emerging economies, that don't have the services that we have, also that don't have their minds clouded by traditional financial institutions and so on. They can really, and I see that already. They see through it and they see the actual value there. So yeah, I think it's a game changer, and this is something that I really want to do. But personally, I really love free diving. So I was a competitive free diver in my 20s, and I also did a record there that's still standing. I was doing 24 hours of apnea diving. So everything that's connected to water and the underwater world, that's something that I personally really like.
That's awesome. I guess you still have to find a way to connect those two passions, right?
Well, yes, so the computers and there can be some technology in diving always, and the internet for sure allowed me to be a far better free diver. It's just I learned so much, because that was back in the days that nobody was almost doing it. It was really just as a sport. It was starting. There was a lot of research that I was able to do and contribute, just because I had access to the internet. There's also some technology involved in regards to diving computers and this stuff. But on the other hand, I'm right now also traveling a lot, and there are really nice spots in Africa to go diving, and all around the world. So in that sense, it's good to connect it, let's say, on that area.
That's great. So um, so in regards to the statistic that you highlight in the website and the other material of 3R, which is the fact that 3 billion people today do not have access to internet connection. So 3 billion is a lot. It's more than a third of the world population, and it's obviously detrimental to the development and flourishing of the affected populations. Most of this population is located in Africa. That's also where you have decided to focus your efforts. How do you plan to penetrate the African continent, taking into consideration the obstacles that you might encounter on fields? And are there some accomplishments you were already able to have that you could share?
Yeah. So yeah, the 3 billion people, that it's a lot of factors why they cannot access internet. There's a lot of that the thing that there's no technology or option to connect them at all. Then there's a lot of people that cannot connect it because it's just they just cannot afford it. So there's a lot to unpack there. But the fact is that still a lot of people just can't access the internet. And you know I myself think that internet is actually so important that we should consider it as a basic human right, if you ask me. So everyone should have a right to gather the information that's accessible on the internet. And I'm pretty sure for everyone, if they ask themselves how would their life look like right now without internet, but really be truthful and think about it. You'll see that it will be something totally different. We learn so much, we gather so much info that influences our everyday life and decisions. We just but we learn to live with it and take it for granted. Just when you don't have it, usually you see how much value there is and how much you're bound to it. And Africa as a continent, yeah, Africa is for sure the least connected continent, and there there is just general access to the internet, and there's also broadband and access to the internet. And broadband in Africa penetration is below 1%. And the thing there is that a lot of times there is no accessibility because there's just no last mile distribution. So if we look at how the internet actually comes to a continent, there are the big undersea cables that are connecting one continent to the other, and those are actually pretty plentiful in Africa. So there's a lot of those connections to other continents, and they also come pretty well and penetrate inside the continent quite a lot, but then they stop. And what actually is lacking is from that stoppage point there, from the intersection, the distribution to the end user, to their homes. So there are no cables laid to people's homes. And even, I have been traveling quite a lot throughout Africa and trying to research that. And even when they have cables, they usually don't work really well. So I've seen cables work, far worse than any mobile connection. And the mobile connections are, its own topic in Africa. So for the major part, they still use 2G or 3G, where you cannot do anything real with data, but it will still count as you having internet, right? Although it's fairly unusable. So the statistics there are also skewed a bit, in addition. And we are deploying a bit of different solution. So there were a lot of companies that were trying, and big companies trying to really get into Africa and laying the cables there, just doing it the traditional way. But they all failed with actually starting to dig trenches and laying the cables and so on. It's right now it's impossible to do that for the most part in Africa. So we said it needs to be wireless. So we were looking and developing our own technology where we can bring broadband level of internet over air. So what we can do is get you a same level of connection that you would have with your cable to your home, just that it's over air. And we set up base stations. We have a range of up to 50 kilometers, and our speeds go up to 1 gigabit per second. So it is true broadband. And this is how we solve the last mile problem. Yeah, I you know, I think the solution is really well. It works already. So we set it up in Sierra Leone. We have 2 towers there, and around 10,000 people right now are using our services already.
And why have you decided to use blockchain as an infrastructure or platform to build your solution? Is it truly an enabler, or could a similar solution be built without the use of blockchain?
Yeah, a lot of times I get such a question, and I don't think it's so much can it be built without the internet, right, or without the blockchain, right? Everything with blockchain and Bitcoin started because providing some new or better financial services. It's not that we cannot do it without the blockchain, right? We have banks. We're using online banking and everything. We just, we're adding blockchain or replacing it with blockchain because it's just better. It's not that it's something totally new. And I think that how we are using blockchain, it makes our product and our service far better. We could do it without blockchain. So actually, right now we are delivering the internet in Sierra Leone without having blockchain implemented. So the blockchain part is has a few. So it's actually a platform that streamlines the onboarding process. So in a sense, when we give you the internet connection, we then we start using the blockchain part. It's if you don't have internet, you cannot use blockchain. So in that sense, the internet needs to come to your place before you can actually use the blockchain, right? So it cannot be directly on it. And but once we get you connected to the internet, we give you a digital identity, and that's the first part that's on the blockchain. So in a sense, we're not solving the connectivity issue; we are solving another issue in Africa with blockchain. Then there is the option of paying with crypto. So that's another use case where we are using blockchain. Of course, then we're also providing users with wallets and with some DeFi options, so that they're really, we want to give them everything from start to finish: a internet connection, a identity, a wallet, the financial tools that they need, and then also some revenue streams. So that's kind of the thing, the idea behind the 3R blockchain. But there are two major things that are really connected to the internet that we're doing with blockchain. And one is that we are putting subscription services on NFTs. So we are, in a sense, giving you the ownership of your subscription. If you think about it a bit, right now you're probably using a bunch of subscription services. It's probably your phone, is your internet at home, is your TV. Now there's a lot of things that you're consuming in this way, and you can consume the services behind it, but you cannot do anything else with your subscription. And we're putting this on an NFT. So what it means is that you can always decide what you want to do with it. You can use it half and then just send the NFT to somebody else and he can use it, onwards. Maybe you're using internet and then just at a, in the middle of the month, you need to go for a vacation or for a business trip or something like that. Then the rest of the internet will just go to waste. Now you can try and resell it on the secondary market, or you can gift it to a school, or you can give it to the family or friends. It's up to you. Nobody prevents you on anything about that. And the second big use case that we have in blockchain is actually the Wi-Fi part, where we were just talking before. And this is also the main revenue stream that we are giving the users. And you can think about it kind of as a Uber of broadband. So we are allowing the end user to set up access point nodes, so they expand, they maintain a part of the network, and for that they actually also then get paid in revenue. So they share the revenue from the users that are using internet through their access point nodes. And this could potentially be also done without blockchain, but right now, if we want to have a transparent, automatic, trustless system, blockchain is the only way to go about it. So all the transactions are stored on the blockchain, privacy enabled, and really transparent. And also we are securing the access point nodes with staked tokens, and then the revenue gets shared also on the basis on how the tokens are actually staked.
Could you elaborate a little bit more on how the technology works exactly in comparison with other conventional solutions that we find today and that so far failed to reach the remaining excluded population? And what technologies were you able so far to test in Sierra Leone?
Yeah, so for us, it starts with the base station. So we set up base station preferably at a really good source of internet. So that would be on a intersection of the undersea cables. So we tend to connect directly to the undersea cables, and then take that internet and run them through our towers. And because we can have a good connection, from our towers to users' home, and that goes over 50 kilometers, we are able to manage a big city with 2 to 3 towers alone. So I wouldn't go into technology, how exactly the transmission works. I'm also not the best one to explain it because I didn't develop it. I know about it a bit. It uses microwave technology, but it's in a bit of a novel way. So that's the thing that's been developed in house and it's patented. Um, but when we come to the end user's home, it's actually everything is compatible with your traditional hardware that you would use, either a modem, a router, whatever. You can connect a Wi-Fi router to it, and then just use the internet in your home, just as you're used to do it, right now at your home. You wouldn't feel a difference. The only difference is that you don't need a cable to your home to actually get the internet. You can do it now over air. So that's the big part that's really the most important probably for Africa, just because we are bridging the gap of that last mile. But then at that point, when you have this internet at home, you can decide and mount a access point node on your home somewhere, outside one, two. And that node is, in a sense, a really powerful wireless router, like a access node, something similar that you would use for public Wi-Fi networks, that you probably most of us used. So this is, and those access point nodes then connect one to each other. And when they connect one to each other, they form a wireless mesh area. So whenever you're in that mesh net area, Wi-Fi area, you can use it with your phone freely, as you would, walking into a mall where they have public Wi-Fi or anything like that. We tend to do it in a bigger scale, and we want the end users to help us build it so that we can expand faster. And this also should bring prices down quite significantly. And there are a lot of players inside this that need to be rewarded. So at one point, the actual ISP needs to be rewarded. So the one that's providing the internet and relaying it to the undersea cable, because the ISP actually needs to buy the internet from the companies that own the undersea cable. So they need to get rewarded. Then the end user that actually has the internet at home, and it's buying it, he needs to get rewarded. Then the one that is putting up the access point node needs to get rewarded, and then the users that are staking the tokens in it, they need to get rewarded. And the rewards, so everyone who uses the internet and actually pays for the internet access, and that should be millions of users, then this revenue gets shared throughout all of this players inside the whole ecosystem. So it is a complex ecosystem, and the actual technology, the actual Wi-Fi technology, is something that's the easiest to do, because it's known, right? It's just, in a sense, setting up a bit bigger public Wi-Fi. But the blockchain part and enabling it with that, and then redistributing the revenue that's generating, that's really the difficult part to do. And in Sierra Leone, what we tested, or what's running right now, is the internet from the towers to the end user. So that's the thing that's already fully operational. And as you mentioned in the beginning, it's not only broadband internet, it's also digital TV and IP telephony that goes through the same link. So, up until that point, we have everything 100% tested. And for the access point nodes, we have them already running in our lab, but we didn't do a public test yet. So, a pilot project is in the works, and we'll do a really proper pilot project once we get into DRC Congo. There is a road that leads from the Kinshasa airport to the Kinshasa city center. And that road is about 20 kilometers long, and there are over a million people going, walking that road every day. So this is kind of a use case that, a pilot project that we actually want to do, and we think it really makes sense, and should have a huge impact. We believe. And the connectivity NFTs, also we didn't go public with them yet. Everything is almost 90%, 99% ready. But we do need to still do a bit of work in connecting the blockchain part and the telecom part. It's the telecom systems, because we need to be standardized. The telecom systems are really a closed system in its own. So we need to make our hardware be able to read directly on-chain data, so that you can get instant access with the NFTs. So we have the way, and testing it, everything seems to work really well. So the next steps, the first thing that will come out will be the connectivity NFTs. That's for sure.
So what are the milestones that you have set for your growth, and how do you plan to expand across the African continent in the future?
So it comes down a lot about to funding. So we can right now, with the current team, we can do 4 to 5 countries per year. That shouldn't be a problem at all. And if more would be needed, we can also train and send additional teams. But with what we have right now, we can do 4 to 5. Um, Currently, we have one new country funded, and that's DRC. Also, Ethiopia is it's partially funded already. So we are looking into entering there also. But for the rest, we are actually looking still for funding, and we have really good connection in Nigeria. We have good connections in Senegal, in Ivory Coast, so a lot of places throughout Africa. So we have a big team that's doing the lobbying and researching the places, and we've done also radio planning in a few of the countries. But it will come down to funding. So. If we have funding readily available, then we'll be expanding really quickly. Else, we'll just take it step by step, one country by one country, and try to finance from the revenue that the country is generating. And DRC should be a big country. It's what, 200 million people. We are entering Kinshasa. That's almost 20 million. So yeah, and to be honest, almost everyone there needs a bit of a broadband, because broadband is almost non-existent there. So yeah, it's really hard to say, and set milestones in that area without having the funding acquired. But for the next year, we actually want to go to 3 new countries, and that's the best case scenario for sure would be DRC, Ethiopia, and Nigeria.
Sounds good. There are other projects that are working on tackling the same issue, but through different means. Some using blockchain, other not. One example being Starlink, a project launched by SpaceX that uses satellites to bring internet connection to remote areas. So there is room for multiple projects. But what is your value proposition and your differentiators in comparison to other solutions that are being developed?
Yeah, so I think our value proposition is that we are probably the fastest, and that means fastest in regards to deploying our service, and also in regards to the speeds that, the internet speeds that we can actually um, generate. And will probably also be one of the cheaper ones. So just comparing to Starlink is, they're doing something incredible, shooting up satellites, like, tens of thousands of satellites. The thing is that where I see a big problem is with their maintenance costs. So the big issue with Starlink is that their satellites have a lifespan of 5 years. So they actually need to replace the satellites every 5 years, and that goes into billions of dollars in yearly costs. And they needed to double the initial amount of satellites actually to be able to do the coverage that they decided to do. So that's a bit of a issue, I think, for, let's say, emerging economies where the price is really, really important, right? So I don't think that Starlink, unless it's heavily, heavily, heavily subsidized, and you cannot do that for a prolonged period of time, it'll never be really cheap, if you ask me. It will be one of the more expensive solutions. Another thing is that right now Africa is not enabled, and it's really a question when they'll actually be enabled in Africa. The next thing is that with them you need to buy hardware upfront that costs around $700 right now before you can actually use anything. So you need to have that hardware. You need to mount it yourself. You always need to have like really clear view of the sky. Even they, on their website says that even if a branch or anything like that comes in between the signal, it can get interrupted. Just imagine being in a overcrowded city in Africa, living on a, I don't know, in a high building, just on the bottom, on the ground floor. How will you mount that? Where will you mount it so that you really have the clear view of the skies and so on? There's a lot of things that probably Starlink won't be covering. Some remote areas where there are only a few people living, that makes it totally economically unwarranted to bring the whole infrastructure there, or even for us, setting up a full base station to connect 200 people, it doesn't make any sense. We'll never be profitable with that, and neither will any other telecom solution. So they have a use case, a huge one for sure. But I think that we can roll out a full city in about 6 months' time, and we can cover the full city in instantly. Once we have it in 6 months, once we have the base station ready, because we're doing it wirelessly, we have the whole area covered. In comparison to traditional ways, they usually just go street by street by street because they need to lay cables. So it takes a lot of time. And yeah, for the there are a few of the blockchain solutions also coming out, and I think with them we have a bit of a better solution because we have a solution from start to finish. So we know where to take the internet. We have the long distances over air solution. So we are actually our own ISP. So we have a ISP license and everything, and that's why we think that we're probably the best to really provide broadband internet. And there are also some that are not focused on broadband at all, but they're also doing some data, right? But yeah, mobile is kind of a replacement for data, but they usually just don't get up to the speeds that you would use if you want to have a business or anything like that. Mobile data usually isn't enough. And also in Africa, having mobile data is really, really expensive, and all the data plans are limited there. So I do think that we have a really, our best proposition is having it set up in areas where there's no broadband, quick and cost effective. And we are on the ground always providing support. So it's not that it's a solution that you need to mount yourself. We will be there. We will be setting it up for you and helping you all the way. I think that's a huge value proposition also in regards to getting new clients on.
Yep. Sandy, how do you envision a world where everyone has a right to be connected? And specifically, how do you envision personally the future of Africa in the age of Web3 and other emerging technologies? So you've said that in most countries we tend to see access to the internet and TV and IP telephony, tend to take it for granted without knowing how much of an impact it has or the importance it has in our day-to-day life. So what is your personal conviction on the impact that the solution you're building will have on the way the future of the African continent and the way it would unfold for African populations?
Yeah, so I I think that the most important thing and the most valuable thing that you can actually possess in your life is knowledge. I think if you have knowledge, you have the tool to do anything that you want. So I think internet is knowledge, in my opinion. So you can do so much in education over it. You don't, the traditional educational systems aren't really well working. Not in the developed world, like let alone in Africa, for instance. It's just not on par with our, and even our is totally outdated. So I think if you want to do anything right now in the world, anything meaningful and really powerful and something that can change your life, you need to use internet to learn. And this is where it starts. But then again, I think if you have free access to the internet, and that means free access to information. Right now, more or less, the difficulty with information on internet is just how to filter out the right one, because there are so many fake info, and that I think that the education actually needs to go into that more into that way, how to teach people how to filter out the correct information that they need, how to search for the info, and then how to put it to use. I think if you have a perfect information, then you can make perfect decisions. There is we're talking about perfect information. There is really hard to get to the perfect information, or let's say it's impossible, right? But we can get close to that perfection in a sense. So I think there's a lot of people that are misled. There's a lot of corruption in the governments, and that's all over the world, to be honest. I think having information will diminish that. It will take away the power of the governments. Having financial solutions will take again, power away and give it to the people. um, with time, we can hopefully envision something about having a voting system on the blockchain. I just been, to Kenya when there were the elections in August, and I can tell you, I was speaking a bit with the locals there. They had the election so much rigged. It's just, the numbers, when they were counting, they were going up and then they were going down a bit again if they weren't right, and then again up and down, and it was just funny to see. So I think that can be solved. Health issues can be solved. There can be a lot of opportunities for people to actually work online with companies, with bigger, multinational companies, and getting a different level of payment there. I think if Africa really gets connected, and I think they'll be also, if they get connected, they'll be the ones that will embrace and adopt blockchain technology first. I think they'll have a huge advantage over everyone else in the world, and I think they'll be really quick to catch up, to other, let's say, a bit more developed countries, that have a head start to them. I do think it's a game changer, totally.
Yeah, it is. And also considering that Africa has the youngest population and that it is growing very fast. So it makes sense to think that in the future they will be the ones adopting these technologies because they are very receptive in general to emergent technologies and technology in general. Um, Sandy, you have extensive experience as an entrepreneur in various sectors, and you then decided to enter the Web3 ecosystem to build a solution that is literally disruptive. What advice would you give to entrepreneurs that aim to build their solution on Web3 or in the Web3 ecosystem, let's say, without preceding experience in blockchain? I mean, the barrier to entry could seem high. It could seem a little bit intimidating. What advice would you give to entrepreneurs in different areas that believe that blockchain can help them build better solutions?
Yeah. So there are so many different levels of businesses that you can do. If you're coming out of a traditional business like we are, then maybe having a expert on team is really, really important. If you're a total startup and you just want to do something in Web3, I would suggest that you know a lot about, that you read everything that you can about blockchain. But at first, what you need is a good idea. Once you have yourself a good idea, then you need to start to get a bit of a team around you, because you won't be able to do it by yourself. At least not in the blockchain space. I think what is really, really important is having a good developer, at least one good developer that has done blockchain before. It is a bit of a different mindset, and you need to understand that with blockchain you're dealing with value, and direct value of your and other people assets. So this is really, really important that you have good developers that know also about security and they've done it before. I would say what you really need is somebody who understands crypto marketing, and crypto is really the important thing because it is different. And Crypto marketing is a total mess, I can tell you. So we've been now doing this for a year, testing out different agencies and so on, and it's everyone is just over promising and under delivering, so it's really, really hard to get somebody who can help you, and the things just cost like crazy money. And then you also need to know that at one point you will need to launch the project, right? You'll need help launching it. It's just so many things that are there. If you didn't do it before, you would really benefit of having at least one advisor who has been through at least one launch, and so that he can guide you and just let you know where are the really important things that you usually are not thinking about. It's like, in the end, about the project is about 20% about the project and 80% about everything else that's around blockchain. So, the your idea and the development is actually 20% of a successful project. You need to have fundraising in place. You need to have the marketing in place. You need to have, exchange listings in place, and you need to understand how the tokenomics work, and how to structure everything so that the token actually gets value. When is the right time to launch a project and a token? And there's a lot of legal issues. You're instantly a global player. You need at least one good advisor that's done it before. That's my take on it.
Makes sense. How can people follow you, follow Tree Air, and join the community and possibly even contribute to the project?
Yeah, so we have our website up and running. That is 3air.io. So 3 with the number 3 and air, like the air that you breathe, 3air.io. And the 3R name is actually because we have 3 services that we can deliver over air. So what we said, broadband internet, digital TV, and IP telephony. And then on the website, you'll see there are all the links. We have a extensive docs pages if you want to read a bit more about us in depth. And we have a big blog. And then there are the links to all the social channels. So, if you want to support us, the best is you'll find us on a Telegram. We have quite a lively Telegram group there. We have a Discord group also. That's not so much active as the Telegram group. We are on Twitter, and also all the other social channels. So I would really like if you come and join us. We love to answer questions. I'm present myself a lot in the Telegram group also, so I'll be answering your questions also myself at some point probably. And we also launched our token recently. No, it's not a best time. So this is something that I was telling you before from experience. I knew it's not a best time to launch a token at this moment in time, but we just, because of legal stuff, we needed to launch it. But yeah, our token is out, so it's available on PancakeSwap and MXC. And I would really love to have you in our channels and talk to you.
Awesome. Sandi, it was an absolute pleasure to have you on Tomorrow.Africa, and I'll be very, very happy to have you back in the future.
Thanks, Yassine. I'll gladly come back and report how things are going.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. Feel free to visit our website, Tomorrow.Africa, and subscribe to our channels to be updated about the future episodes. We publish 2 episodes per month at the 1st and 15th of each month, so stay tuned for the next ones. And until then, stay curious, stay ambitious, and see you tomorrow.